So at station 4, we're just doing a bit of review on how to graph a line given an equation. So here we're given the equation y equals 3x minus 2, and we're looking to graph it on the grid provided. So there's a couple of things to remember about graphing lines, which hopefully you'll remember from last year. There are two key features of an equation and of a line, and they're connected to each other. So the two key features are what we call the slope and the y-intercept. And these two key features are necessary in order to graph a line given an equation. So the number at the end, or what we call the constant, as it doesn't have a variable associated with it, is called the y-intercept of the line. And that'll come into play when we walk through the process of how to graph the line. Coefficient of the variable, or the number that multiplies the variable, in this case x, is called the slope of the line. And really, these are the only two pieces of information you need to graph any line. So when you're graphing the line, it's pretty straightforward. Step 1 is to plot the y-intercept on the grid. And remember, the y-intercept is the value of y when x equals 0. So that's always going to fall directly on the y-axis on the graph. So here, if our y-intercept is -2, we're going to look along the y-axis, and remember that's the vertical one, and we're going to find the value of -2. And that is our y-intercept. Okay? And then your next step after that is to use the slope to find other points. And the key thing to remember about the slope is a ratio of rise over run. And that tells you how many steps to go up and how many steps to go over. So this is a key thing, the fact that the rise over the run is equal to the slope. So if our slope here is equal to 3, if we want to represent that as rise over run, we need to write 3 as a fraction. And the equivalent fraction for 3 would be 3 over 1. So that means our rise will be 3 and our run will be 1. So from our y-intercept, we're going to go up 3, so 1, 2, 3, and over 1. And we're going to get to our next point. And then we can do that again. We're going to go up 3, and we're going to go over 1 to get to our next point. And when we want to finish our line, what we're going to do is we're just going to connect the points with a line. Nice straight line. Sometimes the line tool in OneNote's a little bit finicky, but that's pretty good. And then to finish off for good communication, you're going to put arrows at the end of your line to indicate that it continues on in both directions. And you're going to label your line with the equation, y equals 3x minus 2. And that's how you can easily graph a line based on the